the Zoning Board of Adjustment for the town of New London, and we're here to hear an application for a variance from John C. and Mary Ellen Mathewson. If you are not here for that, you're in the wrong place. And who do we have representing John C. and Mary Ellen Mathewson?
I am John C.
You are John C. Mathewson. How do you do, John? And who is the gentleman to your right? Oh, okay. All right.
John, I'm just the recording's not grabbing them, so if we could just speak through the microphone, sorry.
Thank you. Push the button until you see the green ring around the base of the mic, and then it's on. Thank you.
Okay.
So, John Mathewson, so you will be making the presentation?
Yes, I don't have a PowerPoint, but we can,
That's understood.
but if we can go through the materials in the application.
Okay,
Right.
so that's my opening announcement. We are on the record.
Yeah.
So before we launch into this, though, we have to decide who are the members present here will be able to vote on tonight's variance application. And according to my records, the regularly standing members would be myself, Ann, Heidi, and Frank. We require 5 voting members, and we are blessed with 3 alternates, one of whom voted last time. So between the 2 alternates that had not voted last time would be Lauren and Julia. So which of you 2 would like to be the voting member for tonight? Either of you have a preference? Okay, so Lauren has agreed to be the voting member for the purposes of tabulation, and Julia will be the alternate. And as you know, Julia, you're welcome to participate in all of the discussion, and you just can't vote. Okay, now that administrative item is aside, we are here for a variance. The variance requires you, the petitioner, to present evidence to the board sufficient to sustain a finding, present facts to the board sufficient to sustain a finding on all 5 of the 5 variance criteria which have been addressed, and I did read them in your application.
Yeah.
Evidence sufficient to sustain a finding is a preponderance of the evidence. Just it's more likely than not that what you're saying is true.
Right.
You will make your presentation, and then the board members will be free to ask questions of you if they wish to do so. And then members of the gallery, if there are any, may come and add their 2 cents if they wish. And at some point, the board will make a motion to deliberate. We will deliberate, and at the conclusion of those deliberations, we will take a vote. And at that time, we will know whether or not your variance is accepted or not. And the board may wish to impose conditions on the granting of that variance or not. That's the board's discretion, and I will call for those during the discussion period. Okay, are you clear on where we are with all that?
Yep.
All right, then the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you all for showing up tonight. I appreciate that very much. I would like to start with some pictures, basically just showing the configuration of where we are. Okay, I guess we can start with that map right there. You know, where is it's sideways?
Corner of 40 acres and...
40 acres and Whitney Brook.
Yes, understood.
Roads, right. We're right on the corner there. On the map that's up on the screen. You know, the one in yellow. That's lot 2. There, that is us. And if I had a pointer, I would show where the house is, which is kind of right at the corner, right in there. Yeah, right there. Yeah, yeah. It's quite small. I think actually the next page is bigger. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. That's the house, and it's quite close to both of those roads, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry, built when?
1860.
Oh,
yeah. And that map right north is to the left. Yeah. Okay, so that's where we are anyway. Then as we go down to where those pictures are, which is a little bit further down. There we go. Okay, so if I'm looking to the south from 40 Acres Road, it looks kind of like that. There's a bigger part, you know, there, and a little part which is the kitchen and dining room, and so that's what it currently looks like, and we would like to extend off to the right, and also I should point out there's an old woodshed which is there, and I'll show you an actual photograph of that also, because that's going to be covered up by this. What I want to do is to put a garage, a mudroom attached to the house, and a garage attached to that. So it would look like this. So you see we're adding on, that's actually going to the west, all right, from the house and along 40 Acres Road, okay, along that right of way, okay. It's less, now, the zoning ordinance says that this addition, you know, should be 50 feet or so from the right of way, but the house is much closer to that, which we'll show you in a moment, right? Okay, here's some photographs which were taken from the road, and I stand on the road there. So the one on the top left is looking to the west, and the top right is looking back towards the house from on the right. You see, and the cars are basically parked right on the roadside. There's the house behind it on the picture in the middle, and we're really very close to the road. Okay. On the next page, there's a woodshed which is going to be replaced by this proposed garage, which we see from the road, and it's again it's very close to the road, and it's not a very good looking woodshed. So to remove this thing would definitely improve the neighborhood. All right.
Replaced or displaced?
Oh, well, that will be torn down. Yeah. Then I guess we should look at the map. And if you have any questions at any moment, just. All right, so this is north is up, 40 Acres Road. We see at an angle there, north of the house. And in red, they're kind of hard to read from here. On the right, there's a red line which shows the distance from, I guess that's the property line, an approximate property line, to the closest part of the house, the current house, which is, I believe, was 11 feet or something. Yeah, and which is not very far, and you can see the outlined in black is the current house. All right, footprint, and then in blue to the left is the proposed mudroom, and then a proposed garage, which is 30 by 24 feet. Okay, there's also the footprint of that little woodshed, which is underneath the garage in the front. That's that. Okay, and the distance from the closest point of that proposed addition now, which is that corner of the garage, the northeast corner of the garage, is 21 feet from the property line. So considerably more than the closest point of the current house from 1860 to that property line. So anyway, that's what we would like to do. All right, is to make this addition. Oh, I should say, okay, so the driveway will be coming off the front of that onto 40 Acres Road, which is a dirt road, okay, and it's also a dead end, so we don't get much traffic at all through there. Yeah, and the driveway will just be a short little thing out to 40 Acres Road there, okay? All right. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. So that, I guess, is the scenario. And then I think that all I need to do is to go through the various points on the application.
Anybody have any questions of John as to what they're proposing to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, what is the elevation drop from the road to your proposed garage?
It's pretty
It looks
much
like
level.
it slopes right in.
It's pretty much level. Not. In fact, it'd be on the map, but it's because the garage floor is going to be level with the house, right? And that is just very slightly lower than the road. Okay. I mean, like.
It looks like it's about a 3-foot drop from the front corner of the garage to the back, if I'm looking at this right. Looks
Right.
about 947,
Look at this,
944 in the back.
I have to look at the,
Hi, for the record, I'm Phil Forsley. I'm a friend of John's. I happen to be an engineer, but I'm John's friend. Yeah, this is a survey that was done. Adam has the spot shots. I can't see him from here, but it might be a couple of feet lower, but
here actually.
standing from the road, it's very close when you know, appearance-wise. Very close to the elevation of the road.
It looks like this front line is 947.4, and this back line is 944.5.
Yeah, but that's the, ground level, right?
Yeah, the ground level is about 3 feet from the road where the garage is, and your first floor is at 951. It's very close. At the garage floor, it's probably going to be about 6 inches lower than your finished floor.
Yeah.
So it'll be very close to the elevation of the road at that point.
I was wondering, because when I drove by today, it looked like the parking had been built up quite a bit in order to get you to park level. And then
It is built up. There's a retaining wall there. Is there a retaining wall at the end of your driveway?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
So what'll happen is that'll get extended right into the garage.
so the garage is going to be up at the level of the current parking?
Yeah, actually, yeah. What you can picture is that the property drops off from the road.
Yeah, it
The
does.
garage, the parking area is flat, is been filled in and it's flat. The garage level will be right about that same spot. There'll be some fill in between.
Now, there's 2 parking areas, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
This will be right, near the parking near the house, yeah, right.
In living there, have you experienced very much water coming down through that wash because it's built right where you want to build? Looks like a low
In the
spot.
winter, we get, it melts and we collect just because of the ice or something, and it's all got to clear that out. But no, it's not a big problem. We know about this, yeah, we have the slope, it's in the survey, and we'll address that when we take care of
Okay.
this, yeah.
Yeah, you know what, I might as well start asking questions.
Yeah,
So, Conrad, what happens is as you go a little further down the property, it gets lower, and it looks like a very wet area. Was the property surveyed for wetlands?
it's not a wetlands area, but it is down, lower. It is like it flattens out, and down there it is pretty wet. But that's
Yeah,
that is some distance away from the proposed garage, like it's over 100 feet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the septic system is behind, where's your septic system on
Yeah,
this?
it's actually does not appear on this map because it's
Pretty far back.
It's way down here.
Yeah, the yard and where the garage are pretty high and dry.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, no, I'm not worried about that area, I just don't know where on the map that wet area is. So, what is the size of the lot?
Oh, the size of the lot is 7.1 acres. Oh, yeah, because you have that.
Yeah,
That's the map.
Frank, if this is-
Look at this map up here, right?
If this is helpful, this is the septic plan.
Yeah. So there's the septic. It's quite a distance from the house.
Okay,
Yeah, and the property drops off. You can see the contours there to the west of the septic. It drops off over there. But that's a long way from any of this proposed work, right?
so do you know what the dimension is from the northeast corner, that where it says the stoop, not of the stoop, of the house to the property line?
It says 11 feet.
26.3.
What?
It says
That's the
26.3, unless, there's a note on the survey, Frank, in the upper right-hand corner. a
So
note number 4.
26.3 is to the new mudroom addition, the northeast corner. I'm wondering what's the current,
No,
what's the
Frank,
current setback?
Frank, note 4, unless I'm misreading it, says.
No, I see it, but I also see the dimension where they're applying to it. New London, current dwelling is located approximately 26.8. That doesn't make sense, because I'm looking at the 26.3, and then I go over to the stoop where it says 11 feet. I want to know what that corner of the house is to the property. And the reason why I'm asking is because, one, it looks less than the 26.3, but this is an existing non-conforming, And as long as they stay, which it looks like, based on my thumb dimensions, that under 20-B-3-A, you can expand an existing non-conforming structure. Where'd I see that?
Well,
Sorry.
you can't make the
No,
resulting structure
5.
more non-conforming.
5, I'm sorry, not 3A, 5. Where you have
This is probably.
all legal non-conforming structures may be altered, expanded, repaired, or replaced, provided that it does
Yeah,
not become more non-conforming with the terms of this ordinance.
How do we interpret?
So-
I think, to answer your question, if it's 11 feet from the property line to the stoop, it's probably
So I don't
another
believe
5
this.
feet to the corner of the house, so maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so
16
let's
feet.
call it 16 feet.
Yep.
It'd be nice to know what that dimension is, because if you don't, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, if they don't lessen that, no?
No, I think
I thought
the
that-
encroachment existing in that area would be, say, 16 feet. When I just scaled it out, I would have said 14, but something in
I'm eyeballing
in the 15-foot vicinity, that's the encroachment there. So extending that encroachment further, you are expanding. Know that the dimension is not a increase to the nonconformance, but the area that is nonconforming is expanding. Does that make sense?
Understood. So what happens if the garage is 21 feet? If the, if the setback is increased to 21 from 16, do we interpret that to mean that the result is more nonconforming or less nonconforming?
I would interpret it to be more nonconforming, so that's why we're requiring a variance.
Well, so that's the thing, is that
Right. That's the gravamen of the case.
the nonconformity is the setback. So if, let's say, the addition now is 21, it's not more nonconforming.
But there's more of the structure. There's structure that's not there right now. And so you're now adding a structure that would be nonconforming, so you're expanding that nonconformance.
So if we put the
But it
garage,
doesn't become more nonconforming, you're just expanding it.
But I think
I
it does
don't know.
become more nonconforming.
As,
The measurement in which you are not conforming doesn't become more nonconforming, but the area that is encroaching expands, expanding the nonconformance.
Was this ever run by our council?
I actually believe it was in the topic of Ben Barton's, because at that point, it was allowed that he was able to add on a substantial addition very close to the property line, which obviously when there's a neighbor, there's a big difference from having one little corner of your neighbor's house that is 5 feet off the property line versus adding on a 60-foot run that is 5 feet on the property line.
right, but to take that even further, it's more acute when you are doing this to an abutting building and neighbor versus doing it to an abutting town road of which the right-of-way is in question the width anyway.
Right.
It becomes a little more nebulous in that case.
Right. And that's where I think, the different criteria may weigh those two scenarios differently about the substantial justice and the impacts to neighboring properties.
So.
But I think, Frank, think of it in the terms of if we had a garden shed that was 100 square feet that was 10 feet off the road, does that give somebody the ability to put a 5,000 square foot house 10 feet off the road? I think that that's an expansion, right?
Yes. Okay.
It may be that particular portion of the garden shed could be filled in, but I would say also the Article 20, and haven't read it right in front of me, but talks about equivalent space. So the stoop, it's a structure, and it's a wood frame structure, I believe, and so it is something that we would require a building permit versus if we have granite steps, those are landscape features. They're not a structure,
Oh,
so
yes.
they can go in the setback. But that stoop could not then be enclosed to be interior living space as its encroachment.
Okay, so I'll go on to my next question. Is there anything that prevents the garage from being shifted back?
I mean,
So let's say the front of the garage aligns with the front of the house.
what, it's,
What would, first of all,
what
would
do we
that,
gain then by doing
What would that gain us, Frank? Like 10, 12 feet? I was looking at that same thing.
Yeah,
Eight
you're going
feet,
from
yeah.
21 feet to 30-something, or I'm just guessing, or whatever it is, yeah.
8 feet.
29,
In the front here, there's going to be a driveway, right? So we just basically be increasing the length of the driveway by those 8 feet or whatever, right? And moving things into the garden, which is actually an area that we use for other things, you know, right? And so that's, you know, not,
Well,
not so nice
you-
for us, but I don't know whether we gain anything by moving it there, right?
It increases the setback,
yeah.
which makes it more non-conforming,
Less, more non, yeah,
if you know what I mean.
yes.
Right. But the setback, the proposed setback is already less than the minimum setback of the house, right? And, I mean, it's more.
Yeah.
It's more.
So is there anything that physically prevents you from moving that back?
I mean, you could physically put it anywhere you wanted, right?
Okay.
But, yeah.
He's got a landscape patio behind the house. It's not the very heavy line that you're looking at, but the
says-
one closer to that. So you see the
It
word
says,
deck?
deck and
Yeah,
landscape,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
So that next line down, that's your retaining wall, right? This light line? Is that your stone retaining wall?
There is no retaining wall there.
Is it here?
No,
Okay.
retaining wall,
Oh,
Right,
it's in
but
the
the
back.
yeah, there's nothing.
the deck doesn't,
Oh, I see. My
Right, yeah,
mistake,
yeah.
my mistake.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no.
the deck doesn't extend. The existing deck does not extend out into the area that we'd be occupied by the
No.
proposed garage, though.
No, it does not.
Understood.
I mean, but the plan was that it will, yeah. That it will.
Well,
Keeping the back of the garage where it is allows a view to the west from this deck. That's the only thing.
Yeah, otherwise we'd be looking at the side of the garage,
looking at the
which is,
garage.
you know, I mean, you'd rather look at the, at the,
I understand, and I guess
Yeah. Right, so-
I guess we're going to revisit this when we get to the hardship argument.
right.
So perhaps we should leave it for now, or did anyone have any? Yes, please, Julia, by all means.
Thanks, Ann.
Curse.
Do you have a boundary survey, a survey that is actually prepared to show with definitive legal authority where the boundaries are of the property as well as the right-of-way, so you can actually calculate what the setback is of the proposed garage to determine the variance? Do you have that kind of survey?
I do not.
Okay. And when did the deck and the landscaping that are depicted on the survey that you do have, when were those installed? Do you know?
No, I don't know for sure. I think it might have been in like 1992.
Okay, so not in the time that you owned the property. Okay, all right, thanks.
Further questions from the board members on anything that's been presented thus far? We all yes, go ahead, Conrad, yeah.
Yes. I was just curious, following along that same line, is the property line the edge of the roadway, right away?
Well, I can only answer that in general terms, and technically, unless the town owns the right-of-way, the landowner owns to the center line, subject to the easement required to put the road in. So his lot is burdened by the easement, but it's also benefited, because that's how he gets back and forth from his house.
Is that what the deed says?
I would be quite surprised if the town owns it. Most of the roads around here are landowner owns to the center line.
We don't know if that's the case for this one.
We do have a deed in there, but the deed is pretty short, and I
And I'm
am
not-
guessing that
I'm not-
it's
It does say that the approximate right-of-way road per
approximate
deed.
right away.
Per
It
deed
suggests to me that
references.
we don't even know if it's a 2-rod road or a 3-rod road, so,
But it looks like on this that there's a property line and then there's a dotted line for the roadway.
So that's a right-of-way line that the surveyor identified. We're showing setbacks from the town right-of-way line, which is John's property line. That's
So
what the
that,
survey-
that line is the property line?
There's a call-out. What does that call-out say?
The where?
Well, you dimension to it, so we assume that's the it's called the approximate property
Yeah,
line.
approximate right-of-way of road per deed references located. So that's that dashed line that we're looking at.
So where it's labeled gravel, you're actually parking in the right-of-way.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
not on, that's
The
not on
stone wall is in the right-of-way.
They have to be identified as approximations because this survey is not the type of survey that actually.
It's not a,
That's,
So that's why it has to be an
it's not a survey,
approximation.
it's,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think that's what the note says, the survey.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like the interstate where the federal government owns the land upon which it sits and all the interchanges. This is a different situation.
Okay.
I think what Julia was getting at is, these are all approximate.
Understood.
It's not,
Very well, good
you're
point,
saying
too.
21 feet, but
It's
approximate.
not necessarily so. Okay, so do we have is everyone sufficient on the answer in response to the question as to whether or not the garage could be moved backwards? And I think your response was, we can put it anywhere we want, anywhere we need to.
Right, I mean, it's definitely better for us to, it makes sense, you know, where it is as far as the way it fits in with the.
If it weren't for the setback, we'd be all good to go, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
But that's what we're needling with, that's what we're struggling with, we're debating.
Right,
Is how can we best get you your garage and still not trample all over the setback to the extent that we don't have to, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I understand.
And that will be determined by the 5 criteria and where we end up on those. So does anyone have any further questions about what it is we're proposing and what we want to do with the garage? Okay, then may I ask you then to address, seriatim, the 5 criteria and explain to us why you meet each of the 5 criteria required for this variance.
Okay. So I guess we're there, okay. So, the first criterion, all right, is that the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. And we're not changing the character of the neighborhood. We're not threatening health, safety, or nothing.
Okay, and for the record then, if you would please, could you describe to us the character of this neighborhood? What is across the street? What is on your right? What is on your left?
Okay.
I've been up that road 100 times, I know, but I don't know if all of the board members know what the character of that neighborhood is, really. Is there anything else out there besides residential real estate?
No.
No.
No, I mean, no, that's right. I mean, Nick Bear down the street, he does maple sugar, and so does John Clough, right?
Right.
And they have some lambs and stuff, but it's basically a residence, I believe. Mm-hmm. You could call it a small farm, but I don't know if that's not what it is. In general, these are single-family,
Right.
you know, residences with attached garages, except for us, and on large lots like ours, you know, 7 acres or in that area. I don't know. There's some variation in the lot size, but anyway. But that's what the character of the neighborhood is.
Okay,
Most of the houses have been built more recently. There are a couple, like 3, you know, a couple of houses like ours that are quite old. Yeah, and but they all kind of look the same. They got clapboard siding on them, and there's lots of trees. Yeah.
Okay, does any of the board members have any questions of the applicant about whether or not this proposed garage would have any impact on the fundamental character of the neighborhood?
No.
No, then...
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Conrad.
Would producing a constriction on 40-acre road prevent the development of any of the properties at the end of the road should that road be widened or paved?
But we're not actually increasing the constriction on the road.
Well, you're into the right-of-way. The
No,
setback.
this is out of
Okay.
the right-of-way. It's the front yard setback that
Okay.
it's encroaching in.
Thank you.
Okay, then you may proceed number 2, please.
Oh,
Spirit of the ordinance.
Yeah, okay, I think that I pretty much, I covered that, at least saying that the setback for this thing is greater than the existing house, and that the appearance of the addition will be consistent with the residence, you know, so that it looks good. And like I did show the pictures, and that's approximately what it's gonna look like. Okay, that's what it will look like. And it is a dead-end dirt road. The spirit of the ordinance is observed, that's the next criterion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, it says, what I've written is that the granting of the variance will not threaten the rights of others, does not alter the character of the neighborhood, as we said, right? Be aesthetically consistent with existing dwelling. I've mentioned a couple of other houses with, that are old houses in the area where they've attached garages, because it's really a nice thing to have one. The roadside appearance of the property will be improved when vehicles that are currently parked outside the house are parked in the garage, and that the spirit of the zoning ordinance will be observed by granting this variance, that we're not out to change the look of the neighborhood. We don't want to change, we're all in single-family residences with trees and attractive houses that are all of quite similar character, really, and that we're not changing any of that. If we want to put a garage there close to the road, it's the reason why is because we want to attach to our house, which is close to the road. Yeah. Does that to you address the criterion?
How does the board wish the applicant to make any further comments with respect to whether or not the spirit of the ordinance is observed by this proposed addition of the garage?
No.
Okay, you can go proceed
Okay.
then on to the next one.
Okay, the substantial justice is done. Okay, by granting the variance, allows us to build the attachment in a sensible location for the existing interior, that you were able to attach it, and it works with the existing interior. To deny it, bring a loss to the property owner, not outweighed by the gain to the general public by insistence on strict conformance.
Okay, so if we deny the variance, what is the loss to the general public?
No, so if you deny,
There's two ways to look at the substantial justice argument, and you just flip the gains and the losses.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess my point is, if we don't grant you this variance, then you got to park your vehicles closer to the road, which could be a loss to the public because it's unsightly and it could conceivably be unsafe
Could be unsafe. That's
for visibility purposes on the corner and other reasons.
right. Okay.
So that's just one of the factors. The other things we look at is what is the gain to the public by the granting of this variance? Well, if you do that, then he gets to put vehicles in the garage where you can't see them, increases visibility, et cetera,
Well,
increases the sightliness of the neighborhood,
And also safety.
increases the property values.
Right, increases the property values.
I'm just throwing these things out here to see if you agree or disagree. I mean, it's not our
I
job to
agree.
help
I
you
agree
find the
with-
answers, but
I agree
I'm
with
just
what
trying to
you're saying,
input
yeah.
some sort of discussion so that we can
Yeah.
say we address this.
I agree with what you're saying, that when we build the garage, it'll be more attractive, so therefore probably improve the values of, within the neighborhood, that it would be safer than having the cars on the side of the road.
So does any of the board members see, is there any gain to the public by denying this variance? Does any, I mean, I can't think of everything.
I just have a question.
Please.
Yeah.
Are you replacing, you probably went through this before, so I'm sorry. Are you replacing the location where you currently park the vehicles with the garage? Like,
Yes.
So my question then, when you were, Michael, you were reciting potential benefits,
Yeah.
how how is visibility obscured today by two vehicles going to be improved by the construction of a permanent garage in the same location?
And we need to ask
Same
them,
location.
we need to ask the landowner that.
That's-
I mean,
so-
I was just.
So that was one of the questions
Right.
sort of posed as, so I guess my question to you is, will you improve visibility for
Yeah.
people, vehicles and pedestrians driving or walking on this road by swapping out where you're parking the vehicles and instead constructing a garage?
Right.
Does that improve visibility, or is that not necessarily the case?
I mean, it will actually, because, okay, I have the pictures up on the screen, right? So
They're behind you too, so I can see
Right.
them over there.
So the one on, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So the picture on the left shows that the edge of the road and the cars are currently just like.
Right, just
you know,
off there, yep,
3 or 4 feet.
Okay.
From the edge, right?
okay,
And that's not going to be the case.
Okay.
They will be 20 feet. you know.
Okay.
They'll be in the garage, the edge of the garage will be, say, 20 feet, right? So,
good explanation,
okay,
thank you.
thanks.
And then just to follow up on that, currently, when you leave your house, do you back into the street?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Will there be an ability to back up in your driveway once the garage is in place?
That's a very good question. I expect there will be, yes, yes. That's the plan, that's the plan.
I think that's a very good plan.
That's a good.
I
that's
can't
a
tell
good-
you how many times
So
I've
I'll make a
Picked
note,
off
make
back
a
it out of
note
my
of that one right here.
How many houses are up the hill beyond yours?
In fact, not a lot, okay.
Yeah.
There are
3?
3.
Yeah.
3 houses up the road, that's it. And I don't know if there are going to be more, could be someday, yeah, but not for a while.
We can talk about substantial justice more when we're,
Right, but and you say there's only 3 residences, but I happen to know that the Bear household has 4 vehicles. And I've been at his house numerous times, and there's considerable traffic on that road. You wouldn't think there would be with just those few houses beyond his.
Right.
But there is substantial traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a trailhead there at the end of that road.
Yeah, it's not currently being, yeah, that's right, there is right at the end, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Any further observations on 2? All right, then 3 rather. We've finished substantial justice, or we've kicked it around. We haven't made a ruling, but we've discussed it.
Understand.
You've told us. How about number 4?
Okay. Values of surrounding properties are not diminished. Okay, our proposed addition will be attractive and consistent with the existing residents and other houses in the neighborhood. And we pointed out how, not having these tacky vehicles on the road, is going to improve the look of things. Also, that ugly woodshed will be gone. And so that's bound to help the value of the surrounding properties also. We have letters which were submitted with this application from all of our neighbors. And they're all for it. And so I went over and I showed them the pictures that I showed here. This is what we're planning. And they all agreed that that was a good thing for the neighborhood. Also included a letter from Jeff Addy of Colwell Banker. Wrote a nice letter. When we bought this place, he helped us with the purchase of the property. And anyway, he wrote a letter, which is with this application, and he says it was a good thing for the value of the neighborhood, and he thinks that our variance should be granted. Yeah.
And for the record, let me just state that the board is in possession of letters from all the abutters listed on the application. The same standard word letter, they're not different.
No.
Somebody generated them all, but, and permit me to say that we don't grant variances just because all the neighbors are in favor of it. We kind of look at them more seriously when they're not, because they want to articulate those reasons why.
Understood.
But we will take this into the evidence it offers us, together with the assessment of Jeff Addy with respect to the question about whether or not the surrounding property values will be diminished by the proposed garage.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Which brings us to the real challenging question before the board, which is
Right.
number 5, substantial hardship.
Okay. I mean,
You have, I guess in a sense, you have to tell us, as best you can, why the application of the ordinance, which essentially would preclude you from building the garage
Right.
because it's not 50 feet away, why the application of that ordinance denies you reasonable use of your property. That's the gravamen of this part. There must be some physical characteristics of this lot which prevent you from a reasonable use of your property without this variance.
right.
It's the most challenging part of the 5 criteria. The most court cases are on this particular item.
What I wrote was, okay, so our existing residence, right, is old, it's very close to the road. We don't have an attached garage, and I go out in the winter and shovel snow. I always get a pile of snow all over from the snow plow, and it's quite a lot of work. And I don't, if it would be nice to get these cars into a garage, and I'm not getting any younger either, so as I get older, I think an attached garage on the same level of the house would be a very good thing for us to be able to stay in the house for a long time rather than, moving out. So we gain a lot by having an attached garage. It's good for our cars. If we are unable to do this, right, then we would be stuck with the status quo, which and it's not unnecessary. That's an unnecessary hardship of having to shovel out the stupid cars and have them rust in the snow.
I get it.
For many years and things. I haven't. Sorry for maybe I don't know how to put this. There's no. Okay, so it actually hurts me if I can't do this, right? But I don't see that by denying the variance that you're gaining anything, for the public or what.
That's back to the substantial justice argument, which
Right.
we went over. So
Okay, all right, okay.
what we need to hear from you is, what are the physical characteristics of that lot that prevent you from putting that proposed garage any other place than it is? I guess this is another way of looking at it.
All right.
In other words, there's been some discussion of setting it back. If you set it back so that the setback is more closely observed, there's got to be some reason why you can't, like there's a huge drop-off, or there's ledge, or there's some reason why you can't back that garage up anymore. That's what we're wrestling with here.
Right.
And, is it, or other locations. This is not, very much unlike the case we had last time, where the lot had ledge all over the place and it was very small. This is a little different situation, and we just have to try to work through this to see if we can get you the relief that you seek.
Yeah, I'll chime in here if that's all right.
Thank you, please do.
So I think the use is reasonable. I think it's very reasonable to have an attached garage, an attached mudroom. It's very common. I'm sure the houses down the road have it. I think the challenge here is that this home was built in 1860, and it was built within the setback. So if he wants to attach something, hasn't been proven, but where else is he going to attach it but within the setback?
Right, but if we set it back so that the front of the garage is flush
Well,
with
that's
the...
another, that's something you do, I can address that now. You know what, I prefer to address it now rather than
Okay.
when we go to non-public. I don't see anything here that shows us why the mudroom needs to be attached there. There are no plans, no nothing. And I don't see a reason why this all can't be moved back. Right now, the southwest corner is the only portion that is in an area that's conforming. And again, that's on my little thumb, and this is all approximate too, to add to it. But I would like to know why this cannot be moved back and made
See, 'cause
more less non-conforming.
I mean, we are looking at the elevations on the survey that we were presented, and we don't see any huge drop-off in the back of the garage. We see that the land slopes down,
I comment?
944,
This is a
943,
Good time for me to jump in, I think.
94, yeah, please
Yeah,
do.
so the finished floor of the house is, you see the sill elevation, 951.1, which is depicted in the...
I see that in the corner, yes.
Okay. So the garage floor will be that level or 6 inches lower, right? Just probably for code, maybe you need to do that, I don't know. But it wants to be about 6 inches lower than that. So that puts it at, let's say 949.5, something like that. The existing grade where along the back...
You're looking at 10 feet of fill, that what you're telling me?
Yeah, so right now, he's already looking at like a 7-foot wall back there, and John and I were standing out in the back,
Right.
and I'm saying, John, what do you want this to look like? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you're going to have a big concrete wall there. So if we move it back, we'd lose another foot.
And you want single floor, you want single floor living, is that what I want?
Yeah, so, yeah, it's just going to be a garage.
You don't want it stepped down into the garage?
No.
Understood.
Prefer not to, yeah.
So then it becomes a 7-foot wall, becomes an 8-foot wall, or 8.5, or whatever it is. The farther we go back, the more, it's just going to cost more money. More fill, more concrete.
Well, economic hardship of the owners, nothing, it doesn't weigh in on hardship. Hardship is the physical characteristics of the lot that make the application of the ordinance unreasonable and deny him reasonable use of his property. Economic plight of the owner is of no concern to the board. It's not a zoning issue, I guess
So
is
we
what.
won't talk about that, but we
You-
can
yeah.
talk about the, 7-foot wall becoming an 8-foot wall or 8.5 foot.
Exactly. And so that was, thank you for pointing that out, that the floor elevation of the house, the desires to have the garage level the same.
About the same.
About the same. And in order to do that, I think we can all look at it and see that, substantial fill or a full basement under the garage is the answer. And that means I-beams and all kinds of fancy stuff. I'll leave that to Frank, but yeah. Other comments or observations from the board on this issue? Yeah, go ahead.
May I ask a question? Are there any other buildings on the property?
There is. There is a barn, a little barn. If you had that, it doesn't show on this map, right? It's on but it's on the septic.
It's on the septic? It's in the
Yeah,
direction
there-
of the
see
septic?
right there. There's a little
Do this, we're in a meeting.
barn.
We're on 91A, I can't.
I see.
Yeah, down there, which is, it's not a full barn. I mean, this is, and,
So it's further south.
yeah,
It's not depicted on the,
I don't even see it on the aerial photograph, so it can't be a big...
Have you considered changing its use?
it's, that would be more.
Frankie's got it up on the.
Okay.
And also, that would not be attached, that would be, that's
Correct.
downhill from the house some way, it's, yeah.
Is the house a single floor?
No, it's 2-story,
So there are stairs there?
yeah.
So a lower garage would be another set of stairs, or?
Well, we have a basement, we have first floor, ground, yeah, second. Lower garage would be, more stairs, yeah.
Did you have an opportunity to look at any plans where you would approach from Whitney Brook instead of 90 acres, 40 acres?
It's, for us, that would not be as good. I mean, that's not of importance, but, we like the idea of coming in from, like around where the kitchen side of the house rather than off, where their living room. That's, it's a bit hard to show here. I don't have but, also, if you come from Whitney Brook, there's a lot more traffic. If we go from 40 acres, it makes sense. We would still be non-conforming if we came in from Whitney Brook because we would, again, we would be, in less than the setback.
Only if you put the garage in violation of the 50-foot setback.
In what?
Only if you built the garage with access off Whitney Brook Road that was less than 50 feet from the edge of the road, then,
I mean, the edge of the house is currently less than 50 feet from Whitney Brook.
Right, so you couldn't connect the two
No.
buildings because it had to be so far back. Understood.
So we wouldn't gain anything by going from Whitney Brook, I think. This is probably the best place to put the garage.
Yeah, my guess is that whether he puts it on Whitney Brook or 40 acres and he wants it attached to the house, it's going to be non-conforming.
Understood.
And again, that's a guess.
Further comments or observations by the board or questions for the applicant with respect to this number 5 hardship issue? Any other points we want to, any other, I mean, sometimes we,
Is that a
yeah, go ahead,
question?
Lauren.
Are there any similar houses that are so close to the road on 40 acres?
Well, it's actually, there is, Nick Bear's house is farther from the road, but he's got, on the south side of the road is his barn, which,
Yes, barn and his workshop are in violation of that.
Yeah, like way in violation, about the same as what we're proposing here, or actually, or even more so. I mean, it's quite close to the road, yeah.
Might be in the right of way according to this.
The dotted green line in the diagram, the photograph being what, the
The dotted green line is the extent of the right of way.
Right of way, right.
These are not survey quality, they're tax maps.
Understood.
But
So, is there conservation land around your property at all? Does it abut it anywhere?
It's to the south is the Cook. There's some trails and there's some conservation land.
Conservation.
So, Mr. Bear's land's not protected in any way?
Don't think so.
I don't know.
I think
I'm not sure. what the status
his
is.
land consists of 2 parcels, does it not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lot 3 and 4.
Across the street, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm concerned because there's no survey. We don't really know where the road is, for one thing. It could have been a cow path and the town has just let it be a cow path that's been widened. I have no way of knowing that. That's too bad that hasn't been looked at a little bit. But at the very end of the road, some of that land is under conservation. So the development of the end of the road would be somewhat unrealistic to think that that was going to happen. But the closeness to the road and the lack of knowing actually where the road is a problem for me, but that's my problem.
All right, so I'm not suggesting that we would do this. I'm just here to explain the options, I guess. What we could do is, if the board feels that we don't have enough concrete information to make a decision tonight, one of the options would be to continue to a date certain, at which time we would ask you to return with more definite information with respect to the questions that Ann has raised. That's just one option. I'm just saying it's not fatal. It's just a little delay if you were going to build this before this winter. But that's one option.
Right.
The other option is, well, we could vote and we run the risk of denial, in which case that would not be good for you, A, and B, the appeal process might not be beneficial either. So I'm just saying, we could approve, we could deny, we could continue to date certain, and ask you to bring back more information about exactly where the right-of-way roads is, and that might help us to make a decision.
I'm not suggesting that you have a survey. I'm suggesting that we research, if we can, how that road was established.
By prescriptive easement. I mean, I think that that's a given at this point, that the houses on this road far predate the 1968 legislation of.
And the question is it
prescriptive
2
easement.
rods or 3?
Yeah, and I hate to say this, a survey would tell us that. You're right. So there's a couple of things too. If you do choose to continue, there's a few things that I would like answered is, how does this connect to the house? Why do you need to connect it there? And then to go back, I know that you mentioned the slope. It's not an extreme slope. I mean, where you're placing it is 944.5, and if you go out a bit, it's 943.3. Yes, it's 2 feet, but I don't think adding a couple of steps, you can lower the garage and add a couple of steps. So I need a couple of things answered. If you're asking for a variance, I like to see that you made an effort to reduce that nonconformity.
To the maximum amount that you can, if you know what I mean.
I can understand the house was built in the 1860s, and it's so close to the property. And like I said, the proposed use is a reasonable one. You know, I'm sure there's many houses in the area that have mudrooms and attached garages. We know the area that
All
we
of
live.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, all.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's the condition that you were handed, is that this house is within the setback, but there's got to be an effort made to move this back, in my opinion.
I'm thinking that I kind of agree with Frank. I don't have any problem with all the other criteria. I think you've met the burden on all those. I can only speak for myself on that. But it's this hardship one that we really need to dig in and get all the information we possibly can to make sure that we're doing the right thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so
It's
if this needs to be located here, there's got to be a reason why, a good physical reason.
Not related to the additional costs, because the economic plight of the landowner is not of concern to the board. It's not a criteria that we take under advisement.
Okay.
The cases have come back from the Supreme Court stating that economic plight of the owner is not part of the hardship equation. It relates to the physical characteristics of the lot and the land that make the application of the ordinance as it is in such a manner that it does not denies the landowner reasonable use of the property, and reasonable use is not maximum use. So that's what we're stuck with. I mean, we're not trying to be the bad guy. We're just looking at the ordinance that we're handed and the lot and what you've given us so far, and trying to see if you've met the burden on all of those. And I think we're getting a little bit of pushback on the hardship for reasons partly that Ann has stated. It's just kind of nebulous. We really don't know we don't know things that the survey would tell us.
So, by prescription, Adam, would you define that a little bit better for me?
So it was either 1968 or 1969, I can't remember, but at that point, the legislature picked a time where roads that were could be proved to be used for, I believe it was 40 years prior to that, were roads by prescriptive easement, meaning that the town did not actually have the deed to the road. They were established long ago. They'd been maintained by the town.
They've
They
been
had
continually
traversed.
used and continually maintained and consistently for a period of 40 years, and that's where the prescription part falls in. That's what a prescription
And so the rights that belonging to a prescriptive easement are different than when the town owns them in a fee simple deed, where they don't have the same rights for utilities and those sorts of things. So if you go to extend underground utilities, there's right-of-way acquisition that has to happen. I think the law says something funny, like for parades and oxen and travel or something ridiculous. But it's basically saying you have the surface rights of using the road. And I would venture to say 95% of our roads are prescription.
It's a pretty high percentage.
The state roads are typically, they were established long ago, and they've accepted a layout, and they've acquired the right-of-way if they didn't already own it over some point. But very common in these situations. I would say the measurement we have on our tax maps appears to match the measurement here of what I think would be a 3-rod road. It's a little bit greater than 45 feet. But old road files, they often don't exist for tiny little roads like 40 acres where there's been almost no real work that has been done there to document over the years. I mean,
Well, and
grading
that's,
material.
I guess, my point. If you look around, there's a lot of old houses that are built on corners, like this one is, close to the road, so they don't have to shovel very far to get things out of the house, out of the barn, out of the whatever. And I guess my question is, since it's by prescription, does that mean sort of where the dirt ends? How is a survey going to help with that? figuring out where that actually is.
Because once they'd research it and determine if it's a 3-rod road, then they go out and they find the center line, and
Where
they
does
measure
it
the
get
distance
defined
from the
as a
center line.
3-rod
No,
road?
No, there are very specific points. Someone will go down to the county, find out what those points are, where the nearest marker is, and work their way back to this property. That property line is an exact location based on the deed. Right now, it's kind of approximate. Here's the concern I have. We approve 21 feet, and they go and build based on that. And that's not where the property line is. So what do? Come back to us?
Yeah.
Or tear it up? So that's a
See,
risk that
Setbacks.
someone can take.
Setbacks don't generally pose a problem for adjudication by the board when it's abutting property owners, not abutting rights-of-way public streets, such as this one. It's much easier when you have, if you're looking at a setback for the next property down the street.
Right.
But the distance to the road, because of the reasons we've already cited, a little nebulous. And so now if we're going to approve it, the first question is, well, where do you measure it from? And as Ann says, well, how'd you get that line? How'd you get that point there? Well, and that's where the county comes in all this. So that might explain some of the reluctance on some of the members of the boards with respect to moving straight forward.
Do you think 40-acre road even existed in 1860?
That is.
Well, likely it didn't legally exist until the legislation happened where, over time, obviously we didn't have a public works department in 1860, but when we did, they likely started plowing it, and then that repetitive maintenance and plowing over that 40-year time period leading up to the time when the legislature passed the bill created it as a town road. So there are scenarios now where there's old roads by prescription, where the town will accept a road layout. And so that's a whole process that goes into surveying the road, physically laying it out, the utilities, and then that goes to the selectmen to actually adopt it. That's fairly rare when that happens, when you convert from the, what's that?
Sorry, I don't think it matters when that road came into place because we created zoning, I'm not sure, remember when, but
54.
yeah,
58.
54, that made this house non-conforming. And he's looking to attach something which is a reasonable use, but he can't. But I need some proof showing why he needs to locate it this close to the road. What about the house that doesn't allow him to set it back, and so on the property? And
Okay, I would entertain at this point a motion to discuss. We've kind of been doing that anyway, but I think yes, you want to make a further point? Please do, by all means.
A couple of things. One thing that occurs to me about establishing this right-of-way is, what if we can't? What's a reasonable effort? I'm not a surveyor, but what's a reasonable effort that should be expended to try to establish where this right-of-way line is? I know cost isn't supposed to be a factor, but what if it's a $40,000 research? I was a consultant, I'm mostly retired, and we did a lot of town line work, and you could spend a career developing, I don't think that's what you want John to do, but so it's sort of a rhetorical question. What's a reasonable effort to determine where this is? And then I have a follow-up question. After you deliberate, will we have a chance to ask questions before I don't know what the procedure is going to be.
Before we put it to the vote?
We want to make sure that if we need to come back, we know exactly what we're coming back for. I want to make sure
indeed.
we understand that before we leave.
If we decide that the board can't make a decision on all these 5, we will give you a date certain for the next meeting and say that we will reconvene the meeting for the specific purpose of addressing
Okay, come back.
our number 5.
That's what we need to know. Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to leave you in the dark. Because I think some of the criteria we don't have a problem with, but this hardship one appears to be one there's been considerable discussion on, and it would be unfair for me to say one way or the other right now where we all are.
This
I get a sense that that's the problem one, which it usually is.
There have been
For quite legitimate reasons. We just don't know where the edge of the road is.
so my experience has been, you have a deed. the thing, so the deed identifies the property. What we don't know is where is that property? When was the deed on this? You recently purchased this. Yeah.
Well, it was,
So the deed is there, it's just where is it? And the surveyor can locate this based on other points somewhere down the road. We don't know what it is.
That's how we did
But-
develop this.
There's a rod in the stone wall.
I feel like this road is not going to be Route 11. I think you need to give us some reasonable assurance that you believe and you have either people who have surveyed on the road, there aren't some new houses, or have had land surveyed out there, they potentially have established their side. It might not be your side of the road, but their side of the road. And then if we think it's a 3-rod road, that at least gives us an idea that you're not putting the garage in the middle of the right-of-way. I don't want to be in the situation we have been in where somebody had built a garage over the line. And the question became, how does that get resolved? Tear down the garage? I mean, I don't want you to be in that situation. I don't think you will be. Again, I think if you try to do your due diligence on trying to find out without doing a full survey of the property, that would be a huge help to this board. It's not going to be a thoroughfare
So
in
to
our
that,
lifetime.
and that was going to be my question to the board. Are you looking for a full property survey, or are you looking for a survey sort of in the vicinity of the house that's pinning the front corner of the garage to the closest point of that lot line?
I think,
Basically, what we're looking for is if you're asking for a setback, a variance for the setback, what is that setback to the property line?
what's the existing
Don't need the whole
setback?
property surveyed. Again, I forgot to mention again, I know when I drove by it, the further you go up the hill, further you go up 40 acres, that area looked pretty wet. So just want to make sure there's no wetlands there. But if you can say to me, the wetlands is beyond this stone wall here, does it say stone wall?
There's a stone wall there,
Yeah,
right.
if you say that wet area is behind the stone wall, I'm okay with that. Bring a photo in, we're good. But to go back, you just need to be able to prove what is that setback. And approximate is really uncomfortable.
It's based on deed references, I just wanted to point that out. So
Yeah.
the surveyor did consider the deeds. It did enough deed research to come up with this line, I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, he did survey that, I mean, I saw him do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what what approximately is exactly.
Yeah, then something from him would be nice to know.
Yeah.
And even then, we might approve the variance for the garage in a setback position, farther setback, flush with the front of the house perhaps, or even past that, I don't know. But we can't do anything until we know with some reasonable assurance where the edge of that right-of-way is.
Yeah, I'm sorry, to go back to your question about if for some reason the surveyor can't locate that property line within a reasonable amount of work, come back to us and let us know that.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay. Did
I guess at this point.
you want to, pardon?
Sorry. Well, do you want me to look at dates where we have availability for this actual space, or you
I
still need to discuss?
I think we need some vote.
Would you like to come back with some more information for us? Okay.
All right, then I think what we hear is a continuance for a date certain. So what are the choices, Adam, for?
It's sparse going forward, to be honest, because our normal next meeting would be election night. Obviously, we will not be meeting that night. The next 2 weeks are very busy in this room. So frankly, I think November 19th, which would be your next regular scheduled meeting, not including the election night, is probably the next one, which honestly, to get a surveyor out there 4 weeks to do the work is probably...
Yeah, is that reasonable? Do you think that can?
Well, how long can we go before we need to notify again? the abutters?
As long as they're willing to give us extensions, I mean, it's 90 days, but you can extend that based on their extension. And
You understand
I don't
what he
think they're
means
going to
by
force
that?
your hand.
If we continue this matter longer than 90 days, we have to renotice all the abutters.
Only if the, only if
Shouldn't be
the,
necessary.
it's only if the applicant is not okay with the continuance.
right.
If the applicant's not okay with the continuance, you would be forced to vote on the application. So typically, the applicant is willing to continue.
All right, so what we're trying to get you to do, suggest that you do, is agree to continue this to a date certain in later November, maybe,
The 19th.
or, yeah.
Yeah, November 19th.
Will that give you time enough to pull together
Oh, I'm certain.
something reasonable assurance of this, what the actual setback?
So if it didn't, if that wasn't enough time, our next regular meeting would be 2 weeks later on December 3rd. And so what we would do then is you would just communicate with me, we don't have the information that you need. And then we would get, if we don't have any other applications for that meeting date, we would just have a quorum of the board show up here on November 19th, vote to continue to whatever date you thought you'd have it by. But we could cross that bridge when we get there if we
Okay.
had to.
Is there any other information that the board would like the applicant to provide at this continued meeting, other than some reasonable assurance as to the location, as to the setback? In other words, where is the property line on Forest Acres Road? Is there any other information that we would like him to provide
Yeah, I
us?
think in line with what we discussed, I think it would be helpful if you came back with some idea of why we're placing it in line with what Frank was saying. So then there was discussion, I think you said that there's a view line, that there's the height of the cement wall. There's some location that the builder is looking at. And also you have that it's 1860s house, so there's the condition of the property, but a little bit more about the lot and why that's putting.
Right. The physical characteristics of the lot that require you to place that garage where it is.
Were you talking about putting it up a few feet from the house in the front? You're talking about that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rather than
We-
lining up on the.
What she's saying, what Lauren is saying, is we kind of need more information about why the location where it is
Yeah, that's right, yeah, yeah.
a hardship. Right?
So, to go over my list here, we want some sort of assurance that's where the property line is. I'd like to know why you put that mudroom there. Can that be moved back? And that wet area, again, I'll take a photo showing the stone wall and that area. It's very clear. I drove by
What
it.
was the wet one? The wet area?
There's a wet area as you go further up the property.
Right.
It's kind of like where everything drains into.
I mean, there's a little stream that goes by, yeah, right.
So that is a stream.
But, yeah, but it's way to the west, it's a distance to the west of where we're talking about this construction.
Well, that's it, and there could be a condition of the lot, it being that you can't build because there's a stream.
No, and if the stream is here, he's building close to it. Yeah.
But that's, like, are you-
Right, in other words, there's setbacks from streams. You can't put it, you see, so that's kind of why we wanted to know that. So that says, well, we can't move it over here. We have to have it close to the house. See, that, it's all about.
It could
I don't think
be a
there's a
drainage-
setback from that stream particularly. I don't think it's one of our
Right.
approved 2001 streams.
And it could be a drainage, intentional drainage.
That could be,
Right. But where is that?
I'm new here.
Yeah, we need to know where that is. Anyone else have any other information that we would like the petitioner to return to the board with additional information on? Other than those two?
November 19th, 6:30.
No, okay, so then we are going to continue this matter to November, I guess we have to vote on that. Yes?
Yes.
6:30, all right. I'm going to, the chair would accept a motion, nothing like being suggestive. The chair would accept a motion to continue this matter to November 19th at 6:30 PM for the purposes of the petitioner providing us with the information that we've requested, information on where the boundary line is, and information about, that as Frank asked, about why the proposed diagram is as it is. Does the mudroom have to be where it is? Does the garage absolutely have to be where it is? Why, what is the reasons for that? That goes to the hardship. Well, we have to put it here because there's no other place, or whatever the hardship is. But it has to be based on the physical characteristic of the property,
Right.
not the economic plight of the landowner or the fact that I might lose my garden. You have to make choices, which is more important, not shoveling the snow in the winter or being able to grow things. I don't know. That's a question.
Yeah, but the gain to, you know, is a factor also.
And there's a specific criteria for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So are we clear on the motion here?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded by Heidi. All those in favor of continuing this matter to November 19th at 6:30 for the proposed additional presentation on those topics we discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed. Okay, the motion carries. So this matter is continued to November 19th for the purposes of you presenting us with additional information that we requested.
Okay.
And thank you very much. I mean, we're not trying to be difficult, but one of the factors, one of the pieces of case law that comes down to us relates to a phrase called, quote, the cumulative effect of similar decisions. So we have to be very careful to look at what if we got a whole bunch of these situations with older houses on the corners of roads, and you know what I mean? How we have to be careful of that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And that's why we're trying to do our due diligence. We're trying to make sure we know where the boundary line is and make sure that there's no other place we could put this that wouldn't require.
Right.
We see the reason you need it, absolutely, I agree. So that's not the problem, it's just this question of hardship and the boundary line locations.
Right. Well, I'm going to revisit the reasoning for putting it forward. I mean, I'm not, at this moment, don't have the information to convince you.
Okay,
So, but,
we'll look forward to seeing you on the 19th then.
and if I'm unable to do that, then, I mean, you know, if we lined it up with the house in the front, with that, you know, that would address that problem, right?
But it depends what the setback would be at that point, and we really can't say because we don't know the boundary line.
So we need to get a better idea
It's-
of what the setback is. So we'll be
Right.
communicating with the surveyor, and then you wanted information about the wetland. Is that correct? Or
The proximity of the wetland to the existing,
Well,
to the proposed
We don't know
garage,
if
in
those are
fact it
wetlands
is.
or not. There's a
Okay.
wet area, and I drove by it.
Yeah.
Me driving by it is not enough to say, oh, it's not in the garage area.
Right.
But I do, again, I don't need you to go hire a wetland scientist, and I just need to know where it is approximately. If it is to the west of that stone wall, then if you take a photo and show the wall and show the wet area, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a note of that. I'll use photos, because that should be pretty clear. Good. All right. And I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I'm sorry to make you have to come back, too.
No, that's all right. We're sorry we have to make you come back, but it's
Yeah.
all part of the, part of the deal. Okay. Any further comments? Are we all set? Then we have a couple of other agenda items on the docket, but then do not relate to your presentation.
Okay,
So thank you very much for your presentation,
all right.
and we'll see you on the 19th.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who's got the agenda?
It's cold, right?
Here we go.
The system is still set to,
We have a review of minutes. Where are you guys going?
I'm going to turn the heat on.
Okay, cool. Good idea.
I think there's an issue competing between the thermostat and the app, so we're almost done, right? So we'll
We're almost
survive.
done, yeah. Minutes. Do we have any minutes for review?
The 17th?
Tell me that we've all read them. Yes? Does anyone have any corrections to any of the minutes from the 17th? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept them as written. Do I have a second? I do. So moved and seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of the 17th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are accepted. Other business?
The only other thing, just while I have a captive audience, making a plug for the Housing Commission's forum on the 13th of November at Wheeler Hall at 6 p.m. This is the first of the forums as part of the Housing Opportunities Grant, the Paths Home project that the Housing Commission is working on. This first set is going to be a report out on data and demographics that the consultants and the subcontractors have been gathering. Our consultants, Resiliency Planning from Plymouth, subcontracted to RKG, which is a firm out of Cambridge that specializes in demographics, and they have access to databases that are far more far-reaching than the census data. So it's the sort of step number one of the three-part forum series. So really a time to listen and learn more about, who's here, what do we have for housing stock today, sort of what that looks like. So 6 o'clock, the 13th of November, Wheeler Hall.
Wheeler, oh. And there's food. Hey, nice.
And our Pumpkin People display can remind you in the meantime. So if you get a vote, make sure that you put us in the votes.
What time on the 13th?
6 p.m.
6 p.m., thank you.
It's like the other forum that we've had up there, similar, but drilling down on the data that's been collected in town.
Understood. I think it's great. Hope to see everyone there. Anything else, Adam?
I think that's it.
Great. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, everyone, for
We
attending.
may have a second application for the night of the 19th, too. There's a dormer on Lakeshore. I don't know if you remember the dormer on Lakeshore that we did last year. It was at the Johnsons last year, but now their neighbor wants one, and it's almost the exact same. So we may have that. set up.
Cumulative effect of similar decisions. We should read that case, you okay? Okay, we are adjourned. You are finished. Thank you very much.